now. So I will say again, welcome to San Francisco Drupal Users Group. And this meeting is being recorded. We will be muted during the main presentation, but if you have any questions and want to unmute yourself, feel free, but be mindful of background noise. And we all live in our house and people make noise, it happens. If you are choosing to use a virtual background, which it doesn't look like any of us are, please don't moving backgrounds. And as always, be nice and be respectful of your fellow participants. We do abide by our code of conduct. If you have any issues or want to discuss something, feel free to reach out to info@badcamp.org. Our code of conduct is based on the Badcamp code of conduct, and basically be nice. Upcoming Drupal events, we have a couple coming on. MidCamp is coming up towards the end of March, and I believe they're still looking for papers. Nerd Summit is in a couple weeks in March, and I think their papers are done. DrupalCon is April 12th, and actually they just announced that the entire month of April will be a Drupal event. And there's going to be more information on that if you go to events, the events page up there. They just pushed that today. Stanford camp is at the end of April, April 29th through May 1st. That's a great little camp, and I think they're calling for papers as well. Drupal Camp Asheville is in July 9th and 10th. That's going to be virtual, and they're doing a call for paper. The couple days is actually something that I helped organize, and they are doing a call for papers starting yesterday, and that's going to be July 14th and 15th, right after Drupal Camp Asheville. And of course, we also have Drupal Camp Colorado, which is really fun because that's close by me. That's in August 6th through 8th. Hopefully, it's going to be in person. Or at least possibly hybrid, and that's what the plan is, and hopefully we can all see each other in Colorado, if not somewhere else. Call for papers, the couple days, like I said, we're looking for papers through April 1st. Alley Talks is what is that, once a month, Wednesday talk?
Once a month, midweek, mid-month.
If you want to talk accessibility or see some great accessibility presentations, please feel free to sign up with them and submit a paper as well. SFDUG is we're always looking for some speakers. We are good through, I want to say, the end of April, or possibly mid-May, because we are going to be doing some stuff, and I'll mention that later. Whatever you want to come say, come on up. There's no topic that won't be breached, and everybody always. I love meetups because it helps you practice your public speaking, especially now with that we're all doing Zooms. It helps you with your Zoom public speaking as well. It's really nice. If you have any questions, contact us, sfdrupalusers@gmail.com, which that is the first time I've noticed that email address. And I actually, in June, will check that. I will not. Call for organizers. MidCamp is actually looking for organizers, and actually MidCamp or the Chicago Drupal group are looking for people to help organize their meetup, which is a lot of fun. Drupal Camp NYC is looking for organizers. Chicago meetup, which I said. Badcamp, we're always looking for organizers and volunteers, and Alley Talks as well. The couple days is not on that list, but we are looking desperately. We lost 2 of our organizers in the last 2 weeks. So if you have any questions about that, contact me. Else, there is the Slack channel. This goes without saying, all lives matter, Black lives matter. Please be kind to everybody that you see, and be on the lookout and take care of the social injustice that's going on these days. Drupal jobs that are coming up. We have quite a few. If you have any questions, you can go to jobs.drupal.org, or Badcamp has a job board, which I think links directly to the Drupal job or the Drupal.org one.
Well, it doesn't, but it's really outdated, so I added a couple of slides coming up.
Cool. Here's the whole thing about how I didn't practice before. If you have, if you want to post a profile, jobs.drupal.org will post that, and that basically goes off your Drupal profile, which is great. because that shows that you work in the Drupals. Pantheon is hiring, looking for a senior technical writer and some technical writers. Chapter 3 is a great place, looking for some developers, front end and back end. Kalamuna is looking for front end leads and back end developers lead jobs. Lullabot is looking for front end and back end developers. Yes. Oh, I thought you were raising your hand, Amy June. So I was like, yes. Like you can't unmute me and interrupt me. Anyway, Canopy, we're looking actually for quite a few people. We're looking for Drupal developers. We're looking for designers, UX and strategists. We're looking for project managers, and we're also looking for WordPress techs as well. So if you have a lot of different site platforms in your quiver, feel free to give us a shout as well. We're looking for an accounting person. I didn't know that, but yeah. So if you're good at numbers or good at calculators, which is pretty much how I do mine, give us a caller. It's a great place to work. I think that at least 4 of us think that because we're still working there together. And you can work with a bunch of great people and me. All right. So SFDUGs are pretty much twice a month, the 2nd Thursday and the 4th Thursday. You'll notice this one's a little bit earlier. That's to accommodate for, since we're virtual, people on the East Coast don't want to stay up until super late. And then, of course, for Ralph, Anna, you're kind of on the same time zone as the East Coast people. So you know, that, as far as time zones are concerned, Ralph is the furthest one there. So. But we have a lot of great stuff coming up. We have this Be Smarter with a Smarter Drupal hero-ish with Eileen, who introduced herself. And that's going to be a lot of fun. That's coming up on March 11th in the 2nd Thursday. That's the later one. We also have Boosting Layout Builder Under the Hood with Lisa Thomas of Booth Inc. That's going to be a very interesting one. And that's going to be the earlier one, the 3:30 Pacific time. So, in April, we are going to hold this first one for anyone who wants to practice their DrupalCon session. Just kind of bounce it off. Papers should be, who's gotten accepted should start coming out soon, I want to say, but you would certainly know by then. And then the 22nd, we're just going to do, because it's right after DrupalCon, we're going to do more of a happy hour and a retrospective of what we felt, of what went on, and what cool things happened, as they always do at the Drupal cons, that we can't hang out and be ridiculously drunk at, or sober at, your choice. Others want things that are upcoming in May. We have build a high availability environment for Drupal with Azure. That should be very cool. Azure is a pretty interesting service, and I'm really interested in that. And then concurrent queue workers with Drupal with Simon. You know, we'll have more information on that as we get closer. If you want to present, let us know, and we'll happily get you in the queue. Now on to our main attraction, which is getting started with the default content module for Drupal 8 and 9 with Danny, who I work with, and we just launched a site that he made using this module. So I'm very excited to hear what he has to say. The session will both deconstruct and provide examples, tips, and tricks for making the most of Drupal recommended project template. That, you know what, and here's why I shouldn't look at the speaker notes, because they have nothing to do with this talk.
That is Mike Anello's talk from from August.
So I'm gonna go ahead and shut up and let oh wait, one thing I do have to say is thank you to Canopy Studios. They allot us the Zoom room and Amy June's time, a lot of Amy June's time and our time as well, because it's one of our great benefits of working there is that we can do community stuff like this. And so thank them very, very, very much. And now I am done babbling. Danny, will you actually tell people what you're talking about, please?
Yeah, hey everyone. Can everybody hear me okay?
See.
Okay, great. Yeah, so let me share my screen here. All right. So today, well, yeah, actually, let me just skip to this. because everybody was doing introductions. So yeah, my name is Danny Englander. I am a senior Drupal support engineer at Canopy. And here's some other links, canopy.com and my social media, and Drupal blog, dannyenglander.com. And I live down here in San Diego. Yeah, so let me go back to the beginning here. So I'm going to give you a quick overview. Today we're going to cover getting started with default content module for Drupal 8 and 9. And I have, like Marky was saying, we just launched a new homepage for a site for a client at Canopy, and we use default content, and I'll show you the reason why. So I have this. Actually, let me switch windows here. Okay, so I have this landing page that I've. This is a Drupal 9 site that I've been developing and designing on the side. I kind of look at this as sort of a learning experience. So I like to learn new things all the time. And so I have this component-based landing page built with paragraphs. And you can see we have a hero, we have some statistics, we have a timeline with images and media. We have a call to action, or more maybe a call out, I guess you would call it. Then a text timeline. We have an accordion. We have some embedded tweets that are embedded with the media module, the add-on media entity Twitter, I think it's called. And I've got a quote down here. So this is a pretty well built out page. And what's great about default content is, so let's say I've been given this task to build this new landing page from designs. And so it's going to have totally new fields, new everything. And so I want to build it locally, and export everything in config, and then have it ready to go with all the images and files and content on a remote environment that will be QA'd. And then, it'll end up in other environments too, like testing and dev and staging and all kinds of things. So because none of this exists anywhere else, where the default, well, let me back up for a minute. With regular Drupal config in Drupal 8 and 9, you can export all your settings, but you can't really export content. And that's where the default content module comes in. So with default content, this is like a great use case to export this whole entire page. And then when you deploy it to other environments, it'll be totally built out. And let me go to my slides. Okay, so I'll start the presentation, and then I'm going to do a demo of this after. Okay, so we've covered that. As Marky had pointed out, he was mentioning Black Lives Matter. That's something that's near and dear to my heart. And something else, Stop AAPI Hate, which is Asian American Pacific Islander. So there's been a lot of violence against Asian Americans recently as well. I know in the San Francisco area that's been happening. So these two causes are very important and something to be aware of. Okay, so I've already covered all this. And we're hiring a Canopy, and Marky went over all that. I don't think my list here is as updated as Marky's list, but check us out. And Canopy I love working at Canopy. The people are amazing. And Anne Stefanik, our fearless leader, she's very inspiring, and we get inspired by her and many others there. And it's just a great place to work. We have a lot of fun. Okay, so what are we going to cover here? What is default content? definitions, what versions of Drupal does it work with, who is it for, how do you use it, and a live demo and resources. So we'll go over all that. So what versions of Drupal does default content work with? Well, I should back up for a minute because there is default content for Drupal 7. I have never used that, so I don't know a lot about it. But for Drupal 8 and 9, it's called, the name of the module is called default content for D8. That's actually the name of the module. So it's a different project page than the standard default content. And it works in Drupal 8.7.7 or above. And right now, they're at version 2 alpha 1, and it also works in Drupal 9, the same version. And there's a couple things to be aware of in terms of some patches and stuff. And I'll bring your awareness to the patches. There's one really important patch that would be good to apply if you're going to be using this, and that concerns existing entities. So I'll cover that. Okay, so definitions. I want to, just in case people aren't totally on board with Drupal, or maybe they're using WordPress or another CMS, I'll just quickly define some things here in the Drupal realm. So a content type, also referred to as a node type, it can be like a blog or a landing page, person, maybe something else like events. So think of those types of things as a content type. Taxonomy, also known as a vocabulary in Drupal. So if you're familiar with WordPress, you might, be aware that WordPress has tags and categories, and you can also do that too in Drupal, or whatever other kind of a categorization you like. A block in Drupal is basically a piece of content that can be placed within a region of a page. So it's basically a supplemental type thing that can be placed. Media, so images, files, videos, audio. I showed you that embedded tweets from Twitter, so I showed you that as well. That would be considered media. An entity in Drupal is basically a type of data. So you have content types, you have taxonomy, you have users, media entities, men-user entities, custom entities. So people write their own custom entities, or you can create them with ECK, which is Entity Construction Kit. And I guess paragraphs can be considered entities too, from the paragraphs module, which I'm using here for this demo. Drush. Now, Drush is a command line utility for Drupal, so it speeds up development, so you can do all kinds of neat things right in the command line. And it connects to Drupal, talks to Drupal, so that's neat. Drupal config. So basically, Drupal config is all your settings for your site that are exported into code, and then you can commit those to version control, and then those settings can get propagated and imported into remote environments. And of course, get a method to store and version code. And we'll be using that as well. The other one I just wanted to highlight was UUID, because default content takes advantage of that. So every single piece of, like, every individual entity or thing in Drupal has a UUID, and that's how default content works, because then you don't have that danger of running into conflicts. So the UUID is important, which is a universally unique identifier. So what is default content and who is it for? So it's a method to get Drupal site content from one environment to another at the very most basic. So local to dev, dev to production, etc. It works best with a local Drupal development environment setup that uses Git and Drush. Typically for developers who need to get content from a local environment to a remote one. And I'll have some use cases here. So you have a block that you've created locally. And I don't know if anybody has ever run into this with blocks in Drupal config, but they don't always play well. And so this is a way. Now you can always go to a remote environment, or let's say the single source of truth environment, whatever that is, and create the block there, export, get the database, and then pull the database down, export, I'm talking about a custom block content. And then you can export it, and it's pretty involved. So the default content module is great because you can create and place a block locally, a custom block, and then default content handles the rest in terms of the custom content in the block. For number 2, you're assisting the content team on reimagining a landing page, and you want it fully built out with images, files, and content on deploy to a remote. And that's what we just did today with this one client. And it worked great. 3, you'd like to get some menu links from your local dev into a remote environment. I just started playing with menu links, but that's always like another kind of thing too. So for example, let's say you start working on a site, but you don't have access to the remote environment yet. So theoretically, you could build some, let's say you're theming a menu, you could build the links locally and, put them in default content. Or you maybe have an installation profile for which you'd like to populate content. I haven't played around with that at all, so I'm not sure how all that works, but that's something to keep in mind. How to export content. Well, we have 3 ways. Have a working D8 site or D9 site, install the default content module, create a custom module. So you have the default content module, that's like your anchor. You don't really do anything with that, but it provides the framework to be able to make your own custom module and then run the commands and export the content into your custom module. So you would create a custom module called demo content. You'd basically just create an info file for the module. That's it. That's all you need. You don't need a module file. You don't need anything else. At the very most bare bones basic. So you would call it like demo_content.info.yml. So this would just show basically how it would look in your info file. So I put a few dependencies in there. You can add more like node. So that's how it would look. And I'll show you that. So there's 3 methods to export content using default content. You can export a single entity, which is the drush command of default content export. But there's also an alias, drush DCE, and then your entity. So in this case, I have a node, and then the 8 is the ID of the node. So you also might have like a block content. So drush DCE block content, or taxonomy term, or menu link content. The possibilities are endless. And the documentation for this module, I have to say, is extremely good. It's really, really good. And I'll show you that at the end. So this also takes a file name argument. So you can name this and place it. Now, this is a mistake right here. I love it when I just found a mistake. So it should be /content/node/node-8. So content, like if it's a block, it would be in block. So that's important because this will not work. I mean, it'll export, but it won't do anything. And I discovered that earlier today. when I was running my demo practice. So I was like, oh, wow, what happened? And then I figured it out. And the second method is exports all content defined in the info file of a module. So basically, this, what you'll do is you would get the UUID, and then you would put it into the module, and then you run drush dsem with your module name. So I've been using this method, but I've also been using another method, which I'll show you. So here you specifically name the UUID, and I'll show you how to get those as well, how to get the UUID. There we go. And now this is really interesting. Export an entity and all its referenced entities. So basically, this is like the kitchen sink of default content. So you'd run drush dcer node xyz123, and this takes a folder argument, and you would just put in the folder path to the content folder in your custom module, and this will do the rest. Oh, I think somebody is not muted. Okay. All right. And issues and looking forward. So one of the things about this module is once you enable the module remotely and import the content, you can no longer add any more content locally and have it be imported on your remote. So in other words, it's basically a one-time use. Now, what you could do, I was thinking about this, and theoretically, I was thinking you could have a module A and a module B, and then you could like disable one and enable the other and vice versa. And so that is a bit of a sticking point with this. So you can't reuse an existing module once it's been deployed, but there's a issue open to export everything on your site. And I tried to patch for that and it didn't work for me yet. And I reported back in the issue queue on Drupal.org. But there is an issue open to allow manual imports. So in other words, if you can imagine, like you run drush sim, which imports the standard configuration in Drupal, you can imagine you would run like drush, dsym, and it would be default content import, and then it would just get run on deploy every time. So you could theoretically maybe keep adding to it if you needed to. Okay, and away we go with the live demo. Okay, so we have this page and we want to get this all into code, right? So what I'll do is I'm going to go to my, let's bump this up. Boom, 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 boom. Oh, you can see I hit a lot of errors earlier. Make sure everybody can see this. Okay. And I'm going to hit clear here. Okay. So the first thing we'll do is we're just going to run a basic command here. So we're going to run one of from the first type that I showed you. So if I go over here, I hover over this edit and I see that the node ID is node 8. Now I have we're going to call this with the blue bar, the source site, and then the red bar, we're going to call the destination site. So the red bar we're going to pretend is in some remote environment somewhere. In reality, it's on my local in another instance. But for now, it should suffice to show you how that works. So you'll see that here I've prefaced the drush command with fin, and that's because I'm using the Doxel server environment, the local server Doxel, which is a Docker-based local development environment for Drupal, and it's great. We use it at Canopy pretty much exclusively for the most part, with a few exceptions. And so yeah, so you'll see me prefacing all the drush commands with fin. That's just basically running the command inside the Docker container, the Doxel container. So I'm going to run fin drush default content export node 8. Oh, wow. Okay. So this is pretty interesting. So what it did was it exported this all into the terminal. And that's great. We can see that so this is basically YAML format. And one thing I saw in the documentation, they had a file named as JSON, but I'm pretty sure it's just YAML. So I'm not sure if that was an older version. But anyway, so that's great, but it doesn't help us too much. So what I want to do is I'm going to go here, and this is my source site. So I'm going to delete, I had some demo content. So I'm going to delete this folder. Delete. I'm just going to delete this. And I have my info file in my demo module. And this is like what I showed you before. That's really all you need. So what I'll do now is I'll use the same command, but this time I'm going to put that in the custom module. So I have the same command, but this time it takes a file argument, and I do modules custom demo content node, because it's a node, and node -8 YAML. You can name it anything you want. And boom. So I'm going to go over here, and you can see it exported it. I had just deleted this. So you can see it exported here. And now we can actually look at it with better eyes because this is, so we see the main UUID of the node. And then we can see it gives us all the media entities. And I'm going to show you that on, if I go to my content page here, you'll see this is the node that I'm exporting, components demo page, and it's node 8. So if I go to my remote, well, actually, let me go back here, and you can see here I have a lot of media entities, images, tweets, videos. And then here, I don't have that node, component demo, and I do not have any media here. So the media is empty, there's no media. So what I'll do now is I'm going to, one thing I want to do, I want to make sure that this module is enabled. So I'm going to go fin drush enable demo content. I believe it is already. Yeah. Okay. So, excuse me a moment. I'm sorry. The air conditioner just went on and I need to turn it off. Hang on. Okay, so I'm back. So it's already enabled. So I want to just make sure we're going to export the standard Drupal config. So this is just the standard Drupal config, not default content. So we want to make sure that it's all exported. All right, and now I'll run a git status, and that just tells us if there's any new files. All right, so untracked files. Okay, so I'm going to nothing to commit. All right, let's get a visual on that. So we're here. And it looks like update doxel settings. Oh yeah, it looks like I've already added it before. Okay, so it's already in there. I guess I should have started a new branch, but I'm going to go git push origin demo dash. Okay, so we've pushed that branch, and now I'll go over to my other site. This is the red site. Over here on the left is the blue site. So we're going to go to the red site, which is a remote. And now we're going to go, I'm going to do git fetch origin. Whoops, I spelled it wrong. Okay. Yep. Okay, so git checkout demo dash. Okay. Now I'm going to run. Basically, when you run config import, that enables the module because you had that enabled module in config. And then you have your content from the custom module. So I'll run fin drush sim and okay. Whoops, demo content. Okay, well, maybe I need to enable it. Fin drush enable demo content. Okay, I guess I need to disable it. So I'm going to do fin drush. Whoops, I spelled it wrong. Okay, so now we're going to enable it. I'm not sure why that didn't work out. Probably something I did. Okay, so remember there was, we didn't have that piece of content on this node. But there it is now. Oh, great. Okay, so it showed up on the red site because of the default content. It wasn't there before. So I'll click on it. Okay, so the content is here, but there's no media or images. Darn. Okay, so we can fix that. We can fix that. So this was expected because all I did was the node content. I didn't tell default content to export any media entities. Now in default content 2.0, you do not need the file entity module. In default content 1, you do. But in default content 2, you no longer need that extra module to export media entities. So let's go back here to our source site. So what we'll do now is, I think I'll just do the kitchen sink command where everything is exported. So I'm going to do fin. So DCER, that's where you export everything and reference entities. So, and I'm going to tell it to go into the same folder. So as you recall, let me minimize this. As you recall, we have this custom module, and all we have right now are these things right here. So I'm going to run this, and if all goes well, it'll export everything from that page that are referenced. Whoops. Okay, it actually has to be node 8 because there is no node 1, 2, 3. Okay, let's try that. So this takes a folder argument. And now if we go to here, you can see now we have images. So we have all these files. We have images, we have other entities in code. And we can actually delete this node 8. We don't need that anymore. Because if I look here, so if I look here, you'll see that this is exactly the same thing, except it was done in a much more automated way. So I'm going to delete this file. And then on the red site, I'm going to delete that node and I'm going to uninstall the module. See, this is one of the drawbacks. So I'm going to delete this node on the destination site. And you can see here, we still don't have any media. So there's no media here and the node is gone, no component demo. And then over here, I'm going to uninstall that again. So I'm going to uninstall the module. Oh, I know what I should do. I should export content because we want, and then commit it because we want that to be in a specific state. I think maybe that's where it gets confused. So we're going to export on the destination site because I just uninstalled that module. So you see here, core extension, that will have that module as now being uninstalled. So we'll just make a commit. Uninstall demo. Okay. And all right, so now over on the source side, we're going to, let me just run content export over here just to make sure. And then I'll commit that all to code, push it up, and then we'll pull it down on the destination. Okay, so now I am going to commit. I'm going to put default content DC, I think it was DCER, yeah, for all the reference entities. Yeah, so you can see all this, all that got added, and I'll do git push origin demo -dfc. All right, so we're pushing it up to our remote, well, in this case, GitHub. And you can see it's taking a little while because there's images and stuff in there. All right, now on here, on the destination, I'm going to do git pull origin demo-dfc. Yep, so it's pulling that down from GitHub into my remote environment. So there's all the same stuff you saw on the source. So now I will run config import. Cross your fingers. Fin drush sim. Let's do that. And this should hopefully work. Oh, interesting. There are no changes to import. I wonder, oh, maybe, yeah, see, this is a little odd because let me just see if that module was, I thought we had done that, but. Okay, yeah, so I think there's something with config. So let's try this. That should re-enable the module, I hope. If not, I can do it. Okay, so I'll just do fin drush enable demo content. So by uninstalling it and re-enabling it, it acts like it's a new module, so it'll import the content. You wouldn't typically have this issue with a true remote environment because it would just work much better than this. Okay, so now let's go back to the destination red site. I'm going to reload the page. Please, please. There it is. Okay, so now we have the page again. Let's take a look. Yay. So it looks like we have images, maybe. I might need to do a cache clear. Let's clear the cache. Probably. There we go. Okay, so we have, it's still clearing cache, I guess. Maybe I can load it up over here. Yeah, it's probably a little slow because all those entities are, some still propagating probably. But anyway, so if we look at the media now, I'll go there. I guess I should have cleared cache in the terminal, but such is life. Here we go. Okay, so we have okay, we have mostly everything. We have the tweets, we have the accordion, we have the timeline, we have this background image. Somehow these images didn't get in. I'm not sure why. I don't know. They should have exported, but they didn't. But for the most part, so you can see here, yeah, so for some reason, I don't see those, but anyway, we have media now. Oh, it's funny because I see the images under media, but I see them here, but it's weird. Interesting. Maybe I need to reload. Okay, well, very, very odd. But anyway, I don't know why that happened, but usually it works fine, but it's because I'm giving a demo. Okay, but you can get the general idea of how useful this is. And let's go back to our slide presentation. And there's a bunch of resources here. So this is the project page. This is the documentation, which is very, very good. And you can see they have a lot of information here. One thing I didn't do, but you can actually query the database if you want. So where is that? Maybe it's here. Yeah, so if I make this bigger. So you can actually do a database query if you want to get the UUID that way. So there's a bunch of different ways you can do this, and you can see here, here's all your the way the entities are named. So that's a big hint as well.
Can you
so
share
we
the
have-
link of this,
Oh.
the previous screen? I didn't catch the URL.
Oh, this?
No, the other one. The Drush commands.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, this one.
screen?
Thank you so much. Yeah, if you can put URL in chat, then.
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah.
Sorry about that. It's great presentation. I just don't want to miss any small detail. Thank you.
Yeah. Now this presentation will be available. So we'll put, you'll be able to get it. You'll be able to see it after the fact.
Okay. Cool.
So, and I'll put that in after I'm done sharing. So yeah, it now in Doxel, it's that MySQL command is done a little differently. So I do fin-drush SQL : CLI, or maybe it's because it's a newer version of Drush. And you can see here, like, I can do select UUID from node where the node ID is 8. And so then that gives you that same UID, and then you could put that in here if you wanted to use the other method. So there's a lot of different methods. Yeah, so that's great. So do not re-import existing entities. So if I look at my composer file, I'm going to look at my composer file. So you can see here, if you're going to use this, use version 2 and do this patch until they roll it into a release, because this will get you into a lot of trouble without this patch. It caught me out a few times already, but now I know, to use it. So export all site content. I tried that one, but it didn't work. I think, yeah, I think I commented here that I ran into this issue. So yeah, so it'll be interesting to see what folks say on that. Now, allow manual imports. That will solve the problem of having to disable the module or re-enable it or things like that. Now, there is something to be aware of. This default content deploy looks very interesting. I've not tried it, but it does piggyback on top of default content. And so, yeah, I think that's it.
All righty. Thank you very much, Danny. Any questions from the gallery?
Oh, I see there's some questions in the chat. And
I'm sorry, I had to drop off for a client thing, so I can't scroll back on the chat. So.
Oh, okay. Oh, I see Ann Bonham said it's, yeah, generating the image styles run cron. Yeah, you're probably right, Ann. Yeah, I would bet. That's because the images were there in media, they showed up in the media page. So, and Irina asked, does it matter what is the name of this file? Yeah, you could name it default content.yaml, but you probably want it to be something more specific with context so you know exactly what it is. Or if you do the automated way, it'll just assign names automatically, like the second method I used. So yeah. Let's see. Yes, we'll post the slides. I'm just back scrolling here. Okay, somebody posted. I think that covers the questions in the chat.
Any other questions? All righty, well, so I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording, and then we can start babbling on as we want. And